Calling all Less Than Jake fans. The second leg of the Summer Circus 2025 is happening soon. We'll be starting out west in Phoenix, Arizona on Friday, July 25th, and taking it all the way through until Saturday, August 16th, where we wrap it all up in Nashville, Tennessee. Join us for a night of rambunctious ska punk music with our friends Fishbone, The Suicide Machine, and Catfight. Grab your tickets now at lessthanjake.com. The Summer Circus 2025 is almost here. Limited VIP tickets are available for each stop as well. Those too can be found at lessthanjake.com. Bring your dancing shoes along with your circus-themed outfits. We can't wait to see you. This episode is brought to you by DistroKid.
Hey everyone, Chris DeMakes, a podcast producer, Chris Fafalius here. It's Throwback Thursday again, and this week we're throwing it back to April 10th of 2023, when Josh Caterer sat in to discuss the writing and recording of the 1997 Smoking Popes classic, Megan. So I know that April of 2023 was only a little over 2 years ago, but do you remember anything that happened around the time that this episode came out? It's Throwback Thursday, so here are a few things that happened the same month that Josh appeared on our show. If you're a Hoops fan, you might be interested to know that April 9th of 2023 was the day that Joel Embiid was named the NBA scoring champion for the second straight season, averaging 33.1 points per game. The next day, on April 10th, this is a weird one. That's the day, I don't know if you guys remember this, but that's the day that the Dalai Lama apologized for a video showing him asking a boy to suck his tongue. It's so freaking weird. I don't even know where to start with that one, but I remember people talking about it a lot at the time. On April 12th of 2023, New York City appointed its first ever rat czar as Kathleen Karate became the city's first ever director of rat migration. Speaking of New York City, April 16th of 23 was the day that Broadway's longest running show, The Phantom of the Opera, came to a close after 13,981 performances and 7 Tony Awards. On April 25th, Harry Belafonte sadly passed away at the age of 96. And then 2 days later, on April 27th of 2023, Jerry Springer died at the age of 79. Also on April 27th, James Corden made his final appearance as host of The Late Late Show on CBS after 1,196 episodes. That's actually way more episodes than I thought he would have done. I don't know who was watching that show, but okay. And on April 29th of 2023, the 2-night 90th birthday concert for Willie Nelson was held at the Hollywood Bowl in LA. It featured performers such as Neil Young, Chris Christopherson, Norah Jones, Chris Stapleton, Beck, Edie Brickell, Tom Jones, and a whole bunch more. So I hope all that can put you in the mindset of what was going on in the world when we released this episode, which is episode number 150 of Chris DeMakes a Podcast on April 10th of 2023. So here you go, everyone. Enjoy.
Hey everybody, today's guest is Josh Caterer, guitarist and lead vocalist for the Chicago, Illinois rock band, The Smoking Popes. Together, we take a deep dive into the writing, recording, and inspiration behind the fan-favorite song, Megan, taken from their 1997 album, Destination Failure. Josh mentioned that Megan was written in 1992, a full 5 years before they recorded it, and he feels like it took all those years for him and the band to flush it out and get it to feel just right. I mentioned that the arrangement and instrumentation of the track are quite simple, but Josh later referred to the production as sparse, which I think is the better descriptor, as there was no need for an overblown production. And the lyrics. Wow. Josh takes us on a bit of a roller coaster, referencing an old movie that serves as the catalyst for the lyrics, and then going on to describe different scenarios to many of the lyrical references as to what they actually mean or could mean. Very cool. Oh, and he holds tremendous high praise for producer Jerry Finn for bringing it all together. For all this and a whole lot more, stick around.
Hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Chris DeMakes a podcast.
Hey, Josh.
Hi, Chris.
How's it going? Where are you at right now?
I am at my home in beautiful Aurora, Illinois.
Aurora, Illinois. Well, I know my listeners, they have heard me talk about this before. My band made a career outside of Florida in the Chicago area in the 90s. The scene there was just, absolutely incredible. And, everybody that you were running with, we ended up knowing and, reading the back of these records as a kid, these Screeching Weasel records, and then going there and meeting people that knew those guys and, the Smoking Popes, Slapstick, all the bands that came out of that scene. It was just such a wonderful place to have a band, and all the record stores and everything. It was insane.
So did we end up playing together?
I believe that we did. I can't recall exactly where it was at. And then, of course, we were label mates with you when you were signed to Capitol Records, and you got signed about a year before we did. Who was your A&R person there? Was it Perry?
It was Matt Aberly.
Okay, I didn't know Matt.
Yeah, so that was 95 for us, and so it was 96 for you?
It was November 95 when we got signed, and I want to say they were just getting ready to reissue Born to Quit then.
Yeah, I'm hazy on the exact dates. I know that Born to Quit came out on Johann's Face in 94. And then somewhere in late 94, we started talking to Capitol, and we were, that's when all the major label interest was happening for us. So we may have begun negotiations with Capitol in late 94, but it wasn't until 95 that they fully reissued Born to Quit, so we were an active Capitol band in 95.
And do you recall any other labels at that point courting you guys or looking at you?
Yeah, we were talking to Atlantic, and we were talking to... It started with this guy named Jeff Salzman, who was managing Green Day at the time, called us up and asked if we wanted to be the first band on a label that he was starting, which was going to be an indie, but they were going to get funding from a major, and I can't remember the name of what that label was. But the fact that he called us kind of started this little bidding war, and it started the interest with us. But we ended up talking to Atlantic, and I remember we also were talking to people at Warner Brothers, which brings to mind this thing that I still think about sometimes to this day. We were meeting with Warner Brothers, and we were talking to Danny Goldberg, who was the president of Warner Brothers at the time. And we're sitting in his office, where it's like on the Warner Brothers lot. So we were all freaked out. Like, we went and had lunch in the cafeteria, and the cast of Full House was sitting at the next table. But when we were in Danny Goldberg's office, he's talking to us, and I'm sitting on this couch, and next to me is a table that has like a phone on it that has like a little digital screen on it, right? And so we're sitting there talking to him, and he gets his like secretary comes in. Not comes in, but her voice comes in over the intercom and says, Jackson Brown, line 1. and he says to her, just have him wait. And so he keeps talking to us, and he's saying whatever spiel he's giving us about why we should sign to Warner Brothers. And I look over to the phone that's on my right, sitting next to me, and I see on the little digital screen, it says Jackson Brown holding. And for the life of me, I just could not pay any attention to what this guy was saying to me, because the whole time I'm just thinking, Jackson Browne is sitting there waiting on us.
Yeah.
I am making Jackson Browne wait right now, and it was something that burns itself into your psyche, and you're never the same after that.
You know, I love that you thank you for sharing that, because you know how many stories I have that I can only tell other musicians. There's stories like that where you're like, you're not going to believe this. You know, and I could
Right.
I could sit here and talk for an hour, but you know, here's the president of the label giving you a spiel, and you can't hear a word he's saying, because all you're doing is staring at the phone where Jackson Browne is holding. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So at this point, you know, you decide to go with Capitol. They reissue Born to Quit, and you guys are out on the road. I know you had opened up for Green Day around this time, and you're on the road touring a ton. And the next record was with Jerry Finn. Did Green Day come into play with that? Because of course Jerry had worked with them.
No, we didn't have any ongoing communication with the guys in Green Day. I mean, we actually played with them once in Chicago when they came through touring for Dookie, which was it 93 when that came out?
Dookie was released in 94.
Okay, so it was 94, but they were and Dookie had like just come out, and they came through Chicago, and they had us open for them. I think it was at the Riv, and so we met them, and then later, you know, when we were out in California, we ended up stopping by Billy Joe's house and hanging out with him for an afternoon, because we were also like we were getting some label interest from a label that, like, it's all a blur to me now. But I know that at one time we were over at Billy Joe's house, and he was very gracious, and he's really he was great to us. And but beyond that, like, that's the only contact that we had with them. We didn't actually tour with Green Day. There was just the one show, and then another sort of cool afternoon over at Billy Joe's house.
Okay. And do you recall cutting demos for the Destination Failure record?
I know that we did. I think we recorded some of those at Solid Sound in Hoffman Estates with Phil Bonet, who we'd worked with a lot up till then. I remember that there was a version of the song Paul that we had demoed, and it was a lot different. It was faster. It was called something else. A lot of the lyrics were the same, but it had a different chorus. And there exists a demo of that.
Jerry Finn, correct me if I'm wrong, he was the first, I'll use the term, real producer you worked with. I mean, you'd worked with Phil, but like this was like next level stuff, because Born to Quit was already in the can when Capitol reissued it. So here you are now, and this is really your first proper record on Capitol. And the reason I asked you about the demos, do you recall Jerry hearing them, and what did he think about, in particular, the song we're going to talk about today? What did he think about Megan?
I don't remember him saying anything specific about Megan. I remember him specifically having some things to say about other songs. There were parts of some of the other songs that he didn't like, that he wanted us to change. And we, of course, were very stubborn and insisted on keeping it our way. For example, there were a couple of solos, like the solo in Pretty Pathetic. He didn't like that. And then he had a similar opinion of, there's a musical interlude at the end of the song, I Was Right. He called these our circus parts. Like, they were too atonal, and the guitar parts sounded goofy to him, and he's like, we got to get those circus parts out of there. And we were like, no, man, it's brilliant. We're sticking to our guns.
Okay, well, let's go back. How many demos do you recall? How many songs did you have written? Because I could be off the mark here, but you strike me as a really prolific writer. Were any of the tracks on the record, was Megan a leftover? Did you have it sitting around, or was it written specifically for Destination Failure?
Megan, believe it or not, was written several years before that. It was written in 1992.
Oh, wow.
And I just, maybe about 6 months ago, I ran into Mass Giorgini, who was the engineer who recorded our first album, Get Fired, that came out in 93. And he was telling me that he remembered The only demo that we sent him for any of the Get Fired stuff was an acoustic demo of Megan that we didn't end up putting on that record. It was just like me and an acoustic guitar. So he pointed out, yeah, you guys decided you wanted to save Megan, which we ended up saving for two albums. I don't specifically remember why we did that, but I sort of have a theory about why we would have done that.
Okay, well, I'd like to hear the theory because it's interesting. The track is 9 out of 16 on the album. So, typically a label's going to get involved at some point and go, here's your singles are up here around the 1 to 4 or 5 position. It kind of seemed like it was buried in the record, but also there is just amazing songs on here. I Know You Love Me. I believe that the label, that was one that they had gravitated to. You mentioned Pretty Pathetic, which is amazing. But there's something about this track. I know people have talked to you about this song. I've watched live videos. There's something about this song that's magic.
It does seem to resonate with people. We get a lot of feedback about that song. And it's one of those songs that gets a palpable response when we launch into it live. Although Capitol did not gravitate towards it originally because it was one of the songs that we recorded in our first batch on Destination Failure, and they heard it and the other songs, and they said, we don't hear a single, so you got to go back in. And that's when I wrote I Know You Love Me.
So you say first batch. That was when you went in and recorded the record. They didn't like it, and you went back in to tweak.
Yeah.
Okay. And was that with Jerry Finn, the initial recordings as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
So all of Destination Failure was recorded in 2 studios, CRC, Chicago Recording Company. We were there for 6 weeks, and we recorded all the basic tracks. So all drums, bass, and Eli's rhythm guitar parts were recorded in Chicago. And then we ran out of time because we were going long. So instead of extending our time at CRC, Jerry Finn suggested, all we have left to do are your parts, Josh. So why don't the 2 of us just go out to LA, and I'll get us a room at Conway Studio, and we'll do all your parts there. It'll be fun. It's a great studio. And so I agreed to do that. So the whole album was recorded sort of like, every song has parts from 2 different states on it, except for I Know You Love Me, which was recorded later, and that was recorded entirely at Conway.
So you said you wrote this song around 91, 92, somewhere in there. Do you remember writing it?
Yeah, I do have some memory of the initial inspiration for the song. I remember where I was when I got the initial spark of the song. It was in Crystal Lake, Illinois. I was living at our drummer Mike's parents' house with him because, my parents had kicked me out for various reasons, and I was living over at the family's house, and there was this stoplight intersection in Crystal Lake where there were train tracks. There was a railroad crossing there that you had to go through to get from their little suburb into downtown Crystal Lake. And so often you were caught at this railroad crossing. And one time I was sitting there, the bar was down, the lights were flashing, and the bell is dinging. And I just sort of got this weird picture of being like, what if I just drove around this thing? And it's not that I was suicidal. I was just thinking poetically. What if I were to drive around this and just park on the tracks and wait for the train to hit me? And I sort of was thinking about it in terms of this movie called Heaven Can Wait, starring Warren Beatty, which is really, if you've seen that movie, the premise of that film really informs the lyrics of the song Megan, which I can kind of unpack for you if we're at that part in our discussion. I don't want to jump ahead.
No, well, we're going to get to that lyrical part. I was asking, like, do you remember it? And it seems like it's pretty vivid. Did the lyric or the music come to you? Do you remember? I mean, obviously the idea, you're there at the train track, but how long after that initial thought did you pick up a guitar? Did you have an acoustic sitting in your car at that point, or where'd it go from there?
No, I had an acoustic in my room at the family's house. And I would get ideas, lyrical ideas or melodic ideas in my head when I was driving around and out doing stuff. And then I would go back to my room, pick up the guitar, and flesh it out musically. So it was a lyrical idea and a conceptual idea for the lyrical content of the song. I don't remember if the specific melody came to me in the car there. I remember part of it was I hear the train and I'm thinking about, like, you know, being in a car that got hit by a train, like what would that feel like? And then I look in the rearview mirror and that line from there's a line in there about the bloodshot rearview mirror eyes are mine. That was me actually looking at myself in the rear view, like moments after I got the idea for the song.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, are you familiar with Pete Anna? He was the trombone player in Less Than Jake. He also played in Slapstick back in the day.
No, Slapstick. That was a Rob Kellenberger band.
Yeah, it was. It was Rob's band, of course. I know you played with Rob before, but yeah, that was Rob. Yeah. That was Brendan Kelly from Lawrence Arms. Yeah. Dan Andriano. Yeah, so Pete was in that band, and so I have such great memories of this record because Pete was touring with us in the late '90s when this record came out, and we would play it all the time. And I actually consulted him for this episode because he's the biggest. I said, what song do I do, man? And I knew I wanted to go with this. And he, without dropping a beat, he said, Megan, immediately, and now I would like to, with your permission, Josh, to jump into the song. It's 3 minutes and 10 seconds. The intro is 12 bars total before the vocals hit. It's an overdriven single guitar panned off right for 5 bars, and it rings out there with a chord. On bar 6, another guitar panned off left plays a bendy 2-note little lick as the drums and bass come in for 6 more measures along with that same guitar that's panned off right, the main guitar there. This is the verse progression, and I gotta tell you, the bass guitar tone here is absolutely ripping. It is so good.
Jerry Finn's tones were just beautiful. And he also was a fan of panning hard left and hard right, which took us some getting used to. It's not necessarily, we hadn't done that. I don't think Phil Bonet ever did that in his mixes up to that point, but Jerry was into that, and we were like, okay, man, it's sort of Beatlesy. Let's do it.
Right.
It's cool.
Well, what I love about this track, just the production of it, is that Jerry knew, I think, when to get out of the way, because this is a pretty minimalist track, what's going on here. It's all about that melody.
Butter on a summer day when she's around. I was on the tracks when the gate came down. Suddenly I recognized those bloodshot rearview mirror eyes in mine.
By the way, until 3 days ago when I started studying for this episode, I thought it was met her on a summer day. Not the lyric that I'm about to read. Butter on a summer day when she's around. I was on the tracks when the gate came down. Suddenly I recognized those bloodshot rearview mirror eyes as mine. You just mentioned that.
Yeah. Butter makes more sense than metter, doesn't
Absolutely.
I was on the tracks when the gate came down. So I was apparently in front there. I was the first car in line when that train gate came down. And I was like, what if I had been, one car length forward and the gate came down behind me? Just sort of like an abstract existential thought that launched me into this, thinking about this idea that, as I mentioned, was inspired by the movie Heaven Can Wait. But, okay, before I even start to go down this road, I have to warn you that I feel like this song makes sense on an emotional level if you don't ask too many questions about it. But the more you examine it, the more it raises up unanswered questions, and it sort of scares up more rabbits than it can shoot. And I've had conversations with people where I try to dig into this, and I realize, like, we've got to stop talking about this song because it's falling apart at the seams. And that might happen while we're talking now.
I gotcha. Okay.
But you'll see what I mean when I start to tell you. So if you've seen the movie Heaven Can Wait, Warren Beatty's character, he's riding a bicycle. He goes into a tunnel. He gets hit by a truck in the tunnel and killed, right? And then his soul goes up to this kind of smoky platform where there's what appears to be a commercial airliner there waiting with people lined up to get on it. And it turns out that is sort of a halfway point between Earth and presumably heaven. So, like, they're suggesting that you don't go straight to heaven. You sort of first go to this intermediate spot where you have to line up and get on an airplane that's going to take you to heaven. And he, of course, feels like he's not ready to get on that plane, so he starts to wander off, and he tries to resist it. That's when Buck Henry comes over and with his clipboard and tries to persuade him to get on the plane. So Megan is Heaven Can Wait, but a train rather than an airplane. So I'm thinking that if the train hits you, then I'm and you die, then I'm envisioning this other sort of train platform that is an intermediate area where you're then supposed to line up and get onto a train that's going to take you to your final spiritual destination. So verse 2 is then you're on this, I'm getting ahead of myself. But
Well, I want to ask before we go any further, was Megan a real person in your life?
Megan was, our drummer Mike briefly dated a girl named Megan. He ended up being married to a woman named Megan, but that's not,
Okay.
that was later.
That's later.
He had a girlfriend named Megan who I didn't know well, and I just decided to use her name as a kind of muse for the song. I would do that sometimes. It's not that I didn't have any particular relationship with this girl. I didn't know her well, and I wasn't trying to establish any kind of relationship with her by writing a song about her. I was just always looking for inspiration for songs.
That's awesome, because very few artists on here have said, yeah, this is just kind of a story I created. It's typically about someone specific. So I love hearing that when I do. It's not often, and that's cool that you can just kind of pull this out and get this imagery from the train tracks and, I'm going to call it Megan. Yeah, he used to date this woman, and just kind of how it comes together like that is fascinating to me.
Yeah, but that was just sort of a name that was in our consciousness at the time because there was a Megan hanging around.
Well, here in verse 1, we stay stripped down pretty much like the intro. We don't even get that bendy 2-note lick here halfway through that was at the top. And Josh, I wrote these next notes just to how I kind of feel about the song. I wrote here, so simplistic. And I say that with the utmost sincerity. That's not like it's a simple song and anyone could have written it. That's not what I mean. It's simplistic in texture, yet so heartfelt. You couldn't have sounded more magical here if you piled on a 100-piece orchestra. It's honest. If I tried to sing, I don't even know, it could be in any context, the word butter, it would come off laughable, and there's a magic here. I'm not kidding. There's a way that you sing this that's just, it gives me a lump in my throat when I hear this song. I don't exactly know why. It absolutely moves me. The other thing I love about it, and I've talked about this a lot on the show, Josh, is there's no harmonies in this song. That makes it so much more personal to me. That's just you singing to the listener, or singing, it's not a bunch of voices or you double tracking yourself. And I love that about it. The next part we get into is the pre-chorus, first pre-chorus of the song. Another guitar comes in here, hard panned left. And that's what you're talking about that Jerry was doing here. And again, subtle, not this huge part. It's just another guitar joins the party.
I heard that whistle call my name.
I heard that whistle call my name. I almost drove away.
So normally if you were on the tracks and the gate started coming down behind you, you would say to yourself, oh, this is bad. I better hurry up and scurry off these tracks. But here's a guy who sort of hears the train whistle calling to him. And here's kind of why I start to say that there's just unanswerable questions that are raised by these lyrics. So it's like the guy who is the main character in the song, the protagonist, if you will, is he actually suicidal, like depressed? He seems to be in love with this girl, Megan, because as you see the story unfold, he's wanting to be united with her and feels like, he's gonna meet up with her, like maybe if she's on the train, that there's some sort of union that's going to take place if he's killed by the train that she's on, or that she is going to meet up with him at that platform. Or maybe he's thinking he'll be killed and she'll be killed in the train wreck, and they'll both be on the same platform to go to the same place. I think that's the most logical. I wasn't thinking all of that through when I wrote the lyrics. I was just sort of feeling my way through. It was very intuitive.
Well, if you could recall, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Give me 3 examples, as I know this has happened to you. 3 examples of fans that have walked up to you at a show or have written you an email and said, "This is what this song means to me."
Oh.
Because here you as the writer, you just described it could be 3 or 4 different scenarios going on. And that's where it's kind of getting murky, when you try to explain this song, because even in your head, which is fascinating what you're saying to me, I haven't heard anybody else in the show say that either, that, I could have meant this many things about it. It's usually it's one specific thing. It's not open to interpretation.
Right. But there is something kind of nebulous and ethereal about the storyline in this song that people ask me about, and they've asked me about it a lot over the years. And this is one where it doesn't seem like people have a definite idea about what's going on in this song, which is why they keep asking me about it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, what's going on here? So you get hit by the train or not? And I'm like, yeah. Have you ever seen Heaven Can Wait? And like, not a lot of people have. Not people of my generation. It was like one of my mom's favorite movies.
Okay. Gotcha.
So it's like more people that are over 50 at this point would enjoy that film, but it's a really good movie.
Well, I mean, and that's the same thing I've talked about, and this, a set of lyrics could mean, something to 50 different people, and that's the beauty of it, the interpretation of it. The chorus 1 hits at the 50-second mark. We're already at chorus 1.
But Megan, I had a feeling that you would be on that train, so I just waited there for you.
But Megan, I had a feeling that you would be on that train, so I just waited there for you.
Yeah, the guy sitting in his car on the train tracks with the train barreling towards him, thinking that she, Megan, is on the train. And all I know is that the through line for me, as I was writing it, was this kind of emotional sense of yearning. That there was this sort of burning desire to be connected to this Megan girl. I hadn't fully fleshed out whether it was a relationship that had been important and then it had ended. And so did she dump him? Was it just an unrequited love? I don't know. The thing is, this guy was just desperately in love with this Megan girl, but didn't have her. She wasn't in the car with him. She was maybe on that train. So gripped by an overpowering desire to be with her was he, that he would just sit there and wait for her to collide with him at that moment. And perhaps the two of their souls then would be thrust together toward this heavenly destination, which takes us then into verse 2.
Hey everybody, we got to take a quick break for a word from our sponsors, but we got lots more with Josh Caterer coming right up.
Looking to elevate your music career? DistroKid is a digital music distribution service that enables musicians to distribute their music to online stores and streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, Amazon, Tidal, and many more. DistroKid collects earnings and payments, sending them to you, the artist. With DistroKid, artists unlock a world of possibilities. From easily paying collaborators with splits, to securing your music with DistroLock, DistroKid covers all bases. Plus, you can promote your releases with Hyperfollow and create eye-catching visuals with a Spotify Canvas generator, all for free. But that's not all. Introducing the DistroKid app, now available on iOS and Android. Artists can manage their releases, view streaming stats, and withdraw earnings, all from the palm of their hand. And for those looking to perfect their sound, check out Mixia. With its simple interface and customizable mastering options, artists can make their music sound polished and professional within minutes. And don't forget about Instant Share, DistroKid's newest feature. Share large files securely with collaborators, producers, and more, ensuring your music streams at the highest quality. Ready to take your music to the next level? Download the DistroKid app and explore their suite of tools today. Plus, listeners can enjoy 30% off their first year by visiting distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes. That's distrokid.com/VIP/DeMakes.
When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Skims or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. It's home of ShopPay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Allbirds uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/income.
On WhatsApp, no one can see or hear your personal messages. Whether it's a voice call, message, or sending a password. To WhatsApp, it's all just this. So whether you're sharing the streaming password in the family chat or trading those late-night voice messages that could basically become a podcast, your personal messages stay between you, your friends, and your family. No one else. Not even us. WhatsApp. Message privately with everyone.
Prime delivery is fast. How fast are we talking? We're talking puzzle toys and LickPad delivered so fast you can get this puppy under control fast. We're talking chew toys at your door without really waiting fast. Pee pads, cooling mat, and peg hammer fast and fast. And there's training TREATS faster than you can say sit fast. And now we can all relax and order these matching hoodies to get cozy and cute fast. Fast free delivery. It's on Prime.
The McDonald's snack wrap is back. You brought it back. Ranch snack wrap. Spicy snack wrap. You broke the internet. For a snack. Snack wrap is back. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Pro Savings Day's doorbuster deals are on at Lowe's. My Lowe's Pro Rewards members save an additional $120 on a GE 21.9 cubic foot top freezer refrigerator. Plus, members save $70 on a Bosch hammer drill, now only $99. Not a Pro Rewards member? Join for free today. Lowe's, we help, you save. Valid through 7/23 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. Loyalty program subject to terms and conditions. See Lowe's.com/terms for details. Subject to change.
And now, back to the show.
What I love about the ambiguity of the lyric and everything that you're saying is still in that chorus, you know, at least the first two choruses, you get, so I just waited there for you. And that's kind of like a universal, that's like the end of every feel-good movie, you know, the I waited there for you, you know, that anyone can get behind that lyric. And in the context of everything else, it works beautifully.
Well, I think that connects to the tone of the film, which is, it's pretty dark that Warren Beatty would get hit by a truck right at the beginning of the movie, and the rest of the movie, it's like in an M. Night sort of like Sixth Sense kind of a way, like he's a dead person who is inhabiting someone else's body. So that's pretty dark, but the movie itself has like a lighthearted kind of tone. You got Buck Henry, you got Charles Grodin and Diane Cannon. There's a lot of laughs in the movie, and it's like it sort of takes something heavy and gives it a light touch.
Well, talking about that panning again, guitar panned hard left is doing a nice arpeggiated part. It's great. You can really, talking about that panning, you can really pick out the notes. They're so isolated that it's a beautiful tone that's going on there. And the guitar right is playing rung out chords, and there's a guitar strumming right up the middle here, which I love. Do you remember having those conversations with Jerry? Like, hey, I want to bring a guitar right up the middle for this part too.
All that panning stuff was his idea, and we were all for it. I do remember that I was the one who played the little 2-note thing at the beginning, the near, and I'm pretty sure that Eli was the one who at that point was playing the descending sparse guitar part. I don't remember who did the jangly arpeggio thing in the chorus. It might have been Eli. I feel like that was Eli. I know I'm the one that played the actual guitar solo, but the two of us kind of just swapped.
Well, I love what's going on here, but in terms of that panning, a lot of times you'll do stereo guitars that are, they're a mirror image of each other. And then like that little jangly arpeggio would kind of be like just maybe slightly panned right or panned left or something, or maybe even in the middle. But here that arpeggiated part gets its own feature, panned hard left, and that strumming guitar right up the middle. I love the way that the chorus makes me feel here. It's great.
Cool. By the way, thank you. I mean, you're saying a lot of lovely things about this song, and I just right now I want to give you one big thank you for all of it. I appreciate that you like this song so much.
I do. I love it. This song, like I said, it moves me. It's absolutely brilliant. Verse 2.
Caught a ride to another town where the air was clean and the sun never goes down. Everyone was standing in a line between the landing and the stairs.
Caught a ride to another town where the air was clean and the sun never goes down. Everyone was standing in a line between the landing and the stairs. And before we talk about this lyric, Josh, we got the same instrumentation here, pretty much as verse 1. And as I'm listening to these lyrics, when I comb through these songs for the show, I'm listening to them again almost for the first time. And I'm picking out things. And I'm noticing here that there's no rhyme scheme whatsoever. And sometimes you want to hear a rhyme scheme in a song. Sometimes when it doesn't happen, it sounds really forced. This just sounds like someone kind of downtrodden that just picked up a guitar that's singing from their heart. It's not a ton of stuff here, as we said, the production wise. And, were the lyrics exactly as we hear them here, or did they go through a change? Do you recall?
I think the lyrics have been the same since I first wrote the song. So the thing that is kind of repetitive about it and that ties it together is that it's the same melody that repeats itself, even if the lyrics don't rhyme.
Right. Well, what's happening here, verse 2, lyric-wise? And I absolutely love the line, caught a ride to another town where the air was clean and the sun never goes down.
Well, yeah, as I said, that's that picture of the scene from Havoc and Wait where right after he dies, he goes to in the movie, it's not a sunny place. It's like it's all gray and there's smoke everywhere. So he's walking in like, they have these dry ice smoke machines or whatever, where the smoke comes up to your knees. And they're just and there's literally just a line of people that are standing waiting to go up this staircase to get onto this commercial airliner. And so that is very specifically what I wanted to describe, so that like describing that in that way was more important than coming up with a rhyme for it.
Well, yeah, and sometimes though, this when you write something verbatim of your thoughts, which sounds like there's some stuff here that's like that. It comes off sounding corny, and this is everything but that. It's just, it does tell this story. I wouldn't think it was as verbatim as some of the stuff that you're saying, as abstract as the song is. As you're explaining, I'm going back and reading these now going, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. And the more I talk about this movie, Heaven Can Wait, it's gonna come across like this is my favorite movie of all time, or I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made, which isn't really true. It's just that, I mean, it's a good movie, but it just was an interesting concept. I've always kind of been drawn, even from a very young age, drawn towards films and art that kind of deal with these sort of existential questions of like what happens to you after you die, and different takes on what that could be like. Like, for example, the movie Defending Your Life with Albert Brooks. He almost has a different take on the same idea that after you die, your soul would go to this kind of in-between place. But in that case, it's like a city that you go to, and you get sent to this hotel that you're staying at while you're awaiting this judgment that's going to happen in front of a panel of people. I just love, there's something about like taking something super heavy and existential and like making jokes out of it. And like old Woody Allen movies were good at that, like Love and Death. I've always loved that sort of thing. So that the fact that that's what this movie does just sort of like stuck in my thinking and wanted me to create a song that dealt with it.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because some of my favorite movies aren't great movies necessarily, or what the way they move me or gave me inspiration for something. It could be a terrible movie, but it's something that was part of your childhood. Your mom watched it. It just became like a part of your growing up that somehow made it into a beautifully amazing song. Pre-chorus 2 comes right after verse 2.
I heard somebody call my name.
I heard somebody call my name. I almost climbed the stairs. Same instrumentation here as pre-chorus 1, but we get a different lyric, and I think you kind of addressed this just now.
Yeah, and the heard somebody call my name, that was a reference to what would be the Buck Henry character in Heaven Can Wait, where Warren Beatty is like sort of wandering off into the mist, and Buck Henry is calling after him, hey, wait a minute. No, you need to get on this plane. You need to go up the stairs. And so that I imagine that's what would be happening to me, and I almost did it, but then I would look around and see like she's not here. Like I did this so that she would meet me here, and we're going to go together. We're going to be together again, and she's not. So then I just sit down and I'm like, no, I'm waiting here until she shows up.
Total lyric envy right now. I wish I could get that kind of inspiration and jot it down on paper that would be poetic and artsy, and there'd be some merit to it. But if I try to write like this, Josh, it just, for me, it just doesn't work. For other people it does. And that's what just trips me out so much about this whole songwriting thing. And one of the reasons why I wanted to start the show, the podcast, it's so intriguing to me where people come from, where they draw their inspiration. I mean, what you're telling me here is absolutely like so left of center in my mind, but at the same time makes absolute sense as you're explaining it to me. Chorus 2.
But Megan, I had a feeling that someday you'd meet me there, so I just waited there for you.
But Megan, I had a feeling that someday you'd meet me there, so I just waited there for you. We get a lyric change here on the first half. Someday you'd meet me there. Same instrumentation as chorus 1, but we get a new lyric there.
So if she wasn't on that train and she didn't die as a result of that collision, she certainly would die someday, and eventually she would show up on this platform. And I was apparently intent on waiting there until she did, so that we could go together.
Interesting. I'm this is so much darker than I ever thought you were going to explain to me today. And
right.
And Matt Skiba's built a career out of lyrics like this, as you know.
I know.
I love you, Matt.
You just have to,
I don't mean that as a knock.
You just have to have a dark turn of mind, I guess.
It's so rad. Well, guitar solo comes in after chorus 2 for 12 bars. You believe you played this whole solo?
Yeah, I remember playing it, and I remember writing the solo.
Because it's really interesting, because the first 4 bars are just like this slightly overdriven guitar panned barely left. Then on bar 5 through 12, the longer part of the solo, another guitar is panned barely right. This guitar's more overdriven. The stereo guitars are behind it, panned right and left, ringing out. There's chords on every beat there. And on bars 5 through 12 here, the solo is played over the chorus chord progression, which sets up beautifully for going into verse 3. It's awesome.
I remember playing this solo on my Telecaster. I had a blonde Telecaster that was the same guitar that appeared in the video for Need You Around. I'm playing a yellow Telecaster, which I did not play on the song Need You Around, because when we recorded Born to Quit, we had cheaper guitars. We had the Mexican-made teles that were cheaper, and I had a blue one that I played for that. But then we signed to Capitol, and I immediately went out and bought this nicer American-made blonde Telecaster that I used in the video, and then I used it on some of the tracks on Destination Failure. Although for most of my rhythm tracks on that album, I was using a gold top Les Paul that belonged to Jerry Finn and was playing through an amp that belonged to Jerry Finn. He had a lot of spectacular musical gear, and he had this Marshall amp that was like a signature Slash model Jubilee 800 amp. I'm not that much of a gearhead.
No,
but
I know the amp you're talking about, because Rob Cavallo talked to me about the same amp. Jerry Finn had modded this thing out.
Yes.
Yeah.
I played almost all of my rhythm tracks on Destination Failure through that amp with a gold top Les Paul that belonged to Jerry Finn. But on this particular song, I remember using my Tele because we wanted that twang. And it's funny that you bring up Rob Cavallo. I was listening to your episode where you were talking to Blake from Jawbreaker, and you mentioned this little story you had about Rob Cavallo, about how he said he was going to give you a cassette of Jawbreaker's new version of Boxcar that they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he never did.
Yeah, and I found it on YouTube years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have a related story of Rob Cavallo, because him and Jerry Finn were friends.
Yeah.
And when we were making Destination Failure, at one point Rob Cavallo stopped by the studio and was talking to him, and he was talking all about how the project that he was working on at the time was a Lindsey Buckingham solo album at a different studio in town. And I was like, oh man, I'm like a huge Lindsey Buckingham fan. And he was like, oh, I'll take you over there someday. Just I'll call you, next time I'm in, I'll ask if I can have somebody stop by, and I'll let you know, and you guys can come over and meet Lindsey. I was like, oh my goodness. Then for weeks after that, I had this underlying sense of terror that any day I was going to be called upon to go over and meet Lindsey Buckingham, and I was going to make a fool of myself and not know what to say to him. And I kept thinking about, what am I going to ask Lindsey Buckingham? Do I just play it cool and just sort of be like, yeah, what's up? Or do I have a bunch of questions for him about how did you,
Total geek out on him.
Yeah, like production questions about how you made Tusk, or, what do I ask him? And but of course, Rob Cavallo never came through.
He did.
He never. So I think there's a bunch of stories about him making empty promises to bands.
I have one, but I won't take it too far here. But won't get too off subject. But yeah, he promised us a night to hang out with my band with Stevie Nicks, who he was producing at the time. That didn't happen. So there's a Fleetwood Mac connection. I gotta say, when you said you had a fear, and you said it was a fear of going over there and meeting, I thought you said where you were going with it was you had a fear fear of Rob taking you over there, but the joke was on you. It wasn't going to be Lindsay, but it was going to be Jackson Brown.
Right. And he was still mad about being on hold.
He's still pissed off about being on hold. He has not forgotten.
Yeah.
He has not forgotten.
He's like, I was on hold for 25 minutes, and it's your fault.
Well, out of the guitar solo, I'm going to try to reel it back in here. Out of the guitar solo, we come into verse 3.
On a summer day when I hear that name, it's a dream that never came true. Sat down on the tracks and waited for a train to take me back to you.
And Josh, you know, looking back on all the lyrics here, I mean, there's a recurring hook, butter on a summer day. It makes another appearance here, and of course we'll get to it at the end of the song, but butter on a summer day, when I hear that name.
Yeah.
It's a dream that never came true.
I do remember, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I am remembering that when this idea initially came to me and I was there and I got the spark, it was summertime and it was warm out. And I remember having a car where the air conditioner didn't work particularly well. So I was conscious of the temperature. And so that played into that line of just being butter that melts.
Again, the lyric is awesome. Think about what that says. Butter on a summer day when she's around. You absolutely melt. The lyric is butter on a summer day when I hear that name. It's a dream that never came true. Sat down on the tracks and waited for a train to take me back to you.
So this is another of those unanswered questions, like, it's a dream that never came true. So is he saying that his dream of her meeting him on that platform didn't come true? Or is the entire relationship a dream that didn't come true? Is this somebody that he fantasized about, but she either rejected him to begin with, or he never had the courage to talk to her in the first place? I don't know. Somehow it's an unfulfilled longing. It seems more like that feeling of just being destroyed by an unfulfilled longing for a person is what was driving the narrative forward there, and not to think too hard about like what some of those questions are.
I'm just speaking for myself here, and I mean this. I think you could have sang anything here, and I'd still get the same feeling, me personally.
Oh, just because of the melody?
Because of the melody and just how soft your voice is, your delivery, your enunciation, the feeling of it. Like I said, I've talked about it on the show before, Josh, where sometimes you can say, yeah, I believe that vocal, that person sold it. Other times it doesn't hit you a certain way because maybe they didn't sell or for whatever reason. We don't know what's going to hit us and what's not. But, you know, I think the lyrics in this song are amazing. But I'm, again, speaking just for me, I'm not so sure that they could have been anything and it would have hit me the same way. And that's what I love about it.
I feel like I wouldn't have consciously said this at the time, but looking back on the time period where we recorded it, I think that this was a layer, like a sub-layer of what was happening for me kind of emotionally, is that there was something magical for me about the fact that I was recording my vocals the studio was located in Hollywood, and I was staying at a hotel like right on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood, California. And, you know, I'm talking about, this whole time I've been talking about this movie Heaven Can Wait, so I'm obviously a big film buff, and there's something magical to me about film. And as you know, I'm talking about movies that my mom used to watch, and so from a very young formative age, the magical worlds that are created in movies are a place where I have wanted to live. And so for me to be recording this song that was really inspired by a film starring these movie stars, and I was probably pretty close to the place where this was actually, where the movie was made, you know, and like Warren Beatty, I was probably within only a few miles of him at the time when I was recording that vocal.
So this is all This is all tripping you out as this is going on.
Yeah, and so I'm just saying that to be in Hollywood, California, had a profound and like tangible impact on how I was feeling. And so I think that probably crept into my delivery and my sense of connectedness to the lyric.
That's so cool. Well, pre-chorus 3, we get yet another lyric.
Somebody came and took my hand. I finally had to go, but Megan, I just want you to know that I waited as long as I could.
Somebody came and took my hand. I finally had to go. Same instrumentation as pre-chorus 1 and pre-chorus 2. And then we get into, but Megan, I just want you to know, and here's the lyric change, that I waited as long as I could.
So you're pointing out that there are lines that repeat themselves, but they're followed by different lines where I'll take like what seems like it's going to be a repeating part and change.
I love that.
That's something that I tend to do. Sometimes I can throw myself off, and it makes me forget lyrics when I'm on stage because the lyrics are like too similar, and I can't remember if I'm in the first verse or the third verse.
And the only time you know is when you get off stage and you're hanging out by the merch booth. Someone goes, you realize you sang pre-chorus 1 the second time, and you're like, thanks, dude, appreciate it.
Yeah. I was like, I thought that might be happening.
Well, at the last line here, that I waited as long as I could, the whole band rings out. And then that one guitar from the top comes back in.
Butter on a summer day when she's around.
Butter on a summer day when she's around. And that just says, again, that lyric says so much about what this person does to you. I'm calling this last little part here the outro. It could also be considered a coda, I think. And it's interesting, my take on this last part here, Josh. It's a start of another verse, essentially. Like this feeling will never go away. Like it's a cliffhanger. You know, like that, like it's still going on, but you as a listener don't know. It's kind of eerie the way this ends. And then
does it kind of suggest a to be continued, like because you've shifted in the first verse from butter on a summer day when she's around, and then it shifts to a butter on a summer day when I hear that name. So he's not with her; he's just hearing about her. But then again, it's a reference to her being around. So are we to believe that they were united at some point in the great beyond, and that was the beginning of another verse that never came to be, at least not in the physical realm?
Well, it's interesting you point that. That's the vibe I get from it. Like, this isn't over, you know? But at the same time, you guys capped it at the very end with this big major, you know, F sharp chord, this boom. It's like, where did this come from, you know? And it's a strange but perfect ending.
Well, again, thank you. I'm glad you feel it's perfect. It's one of those things where, like, it's interesting to sit around and, like, examine some work that you did after the fact and to sort of feel like it makes it seem more like everything was intentional and that there was more of a strategy to all of it. When really, at the time,
I love that there wasn't.
Almost everything that and I'm sure this is the case with a lot of people that you talk to. Like when these things were actually being put together, it was all just was from the gut, you know. But then you look back some years later and go, oh, actually that sort of makes more sense to me now than it did consciously when we were doing it.
Yeah, when you're going through whatever it is, it could be a thunderstorm in a relationship or a family member passing. You might not realize at the time how that influences you till you can reflect, you know, at a later date and look back.
Before I completely forget, I had mentioned that I have a theory about why we saved the song for so long, and I want to share that with you.
Yeah, please.
Because the song was written in 1992, and I haven't, it's been years since I would have heard the acoustic demo. I don't know exactly what the acoustic demo sounds like, but I know now when I listen to the Destination Failure recording of the song, there's a certain subtlety to the arrangement, like the way that it's driven by this guitar part that's pretty sparse, and the thing that fills that in is the bass the bass line.
Oh, yeah.
So you sort of need the bass line to make sense out of the guitar part. They work in conjunction with each other. But I think that's a level of arrangement sophistication that we did not possess in 1992 or 93.
Yeah.
And I feel like, although I don't recall specifically the process, I'm sure that Jerry Finn was speaking into that and like helping us to kind of show restraint in the way that we were doing some of our guitar parts. And probably the way that I wrote it was just strumming, just kind of like more aggressive strumming. And my theory, although I don't remember, is that probably that we had the sense that it was a pretty good song, but we had not yet come up with an arrangement that sort of did justice to the song. And it wasn't until we got to Destination Failure and started working with Jerry that we felt like we actually had the talent and the resources at our disposal to be able to do justice to the song with Jerry's help. And so that's why we saved it that long.
That's awesome.
And I'm kind of glad that we did, although like it would have been really interesting to hear the Born to Quit version of it, because Phil was a genius in his own way, but it would have been different,
Yeah.
And I don't regret waiting. I feel the way that it showed up on Destination Failure was just as it was meant to be.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for sitting in and breaking this down. And before we break, got anything to leave the listeners with? What you have going on with the band? What's happening?
Well, we're starting to track new stuff. We're going in actually this coming weekend to record a couple of songs, a cover, and then the first new original Pope song that we have recorded in about 5 years. And it's going to be the beginning of what will become the first Popes album in that many years. So we're very excited.
That's awesome, man. Well, once again, thank you so much. This has been a blast.
It's been a blast for me too. Thanks, Chris.
I know that you love me.
Oh man, that episode was great. I can't wait to talk about that one with Chris in the rap segment that's coming up, as well as the band you might not know. It's all coming up right after a few quick words from our sponsors.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Put us in a box. Go ahead. That just gives us something to break out of. Because the next generation 2025 GMC Terrain Elevation is raising the standard of what comes standard. As far as expectations go, why meet them when you can shatter them? What we choose to challenge, we challenge completely. We are professional grade. Visit GMC.com to learn more.
Eczema isn't always obvious, but it's real. And so is the relief from Ebglyss. After an initial dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab, LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Searching for real relief? Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
Close your eyes, exhale, feel your body relax, and let go of whatever you're carrying today.
Well, I'm letting go of the worry that I wouldn't get my new contacts in time for this class. I got them delivered free from 1-800-CONTACTS. Oh my gosh, they're so fast.
And breathe.
Oh, sorry. I almost couldn't breathe when I saw the discount they gave me on my first order. Oh, Sorry. Namaste?
Visit 1-800-CONTACTS.com today to save on your first order.
1-800-CONTACTS.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. Knowing you could be saving money for the things you really want, like that dream house or ride, is a great feeling. That's why the State Farm Personal Price Plan can help you save when you choose to bundle home and auto. Bundling, just another way to save with the Personal Price Plan. Prices are based on rating plans that vary by state. Coverage options are selected by the customer. Availability, amount of discounts and savings, and eligibility vary by state.
Make your next move with American Express Business Platinum. Earn 5 times membership rewards points on flights and prepaid hotels booked on AmexTravel.com. And with a welcome offer of 150,000 points after you spend $20,000 on purchases on the card within your first 3 months of membership, your business can soar to new heights. Terms apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-platinum. Amex Business Platinum. Built for business by American Express.
Do you like to laugh, geek out on music, and learn all about that band or artist who had that one song back in the day, but then seemed to fall off the face of the earth? If so, you need to subscribe to One Hit Thunder. Together with an array of interesting and hilarious guests, we do a weekly dive into one-hit wonders like Eiffel 65's Blue, Krayshawn's Gucci Gucci, EMF's Unbelievable, Delamitri's Roll to Me, Los Del Rio's Macarena, Musical Youth's Pass the Dutchie, and even Patrick Swayze's She's Like the Wind. So are you subscribed to One Hit Thunder or what? As Desiree would say, you gotta be. And as K7 would encourage, you gotta come, baby, come and join in on the fun of the One Hit Thunder podcast.
Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come, come. Come, baby, come, baby, baby, come. As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a Podcast, all you have to do is email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumighttnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Shrug Dealer, a 4-piece melodic punk rock band from New York City. You can find their music on Bandcamp, and their most recent album is called Infested. Here's a snippet of their song, The Call of Epigon.
Week after week, we practice 3-chord songs. Simple chants for sing-alongs. For 7 friends who don't keep track and hold bar flies who'd rather see a funky jazz band.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
Chris, I'm glad we finally got Josh on the show. He has been very often requested by listeners for what seems like years now, and he couldn't ask for a better song. It's so cool, too, that he had so many memories of actually writing the song, considering he wrote it decades ago.
I know, yeah. It was, written a full 5 years before Destination Failure was released, and I thought it was a really cool admission near the end when he, basically said, I don't think we were ready as a band to track this song. And that's so cool because you don't really, I think, know those things at the time. It's something you have to reflect on later. You don't know, no one at 20 years old has a governor that, strong that says, you know what, I better wait. I'm not up to snuff yet with my songwriting to release this, but I'm glad they did.
I feel like you've asked so many people, was this from the previous album's writing, or did you write it specifically for this album? I feel like 50 people in a row said, no, we wrote it for this album. This is the first time, definitely the first time that I think someone said, no, this was from 2 albums ago. And it's just, we held on to it for that long. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Finally, someone had written the song a long time ago. And you're right, maybe it was subconsciously. It is a really emotional song. There's really something, you used the word a couple times in this episode that there's something magical about the delivery of this song, and there really is.
Yeah, and he really knew where I was coming from near the end, Chris, when I said to him, and I really thought I could say this the way I did. I didn't think he was going to take it the wrong way, because I think the lyrics are beautiful to this, but as I said, I think he could have sang anything here, and it would have hit me the same way.
Yeah. Hey, I never once ever took away from the lyrics of this song that anyone was maybe dying. I never, for some reason, I never put that together, but I did. And I heard him use this turn of phrase. I did feel the emotional sense of yearning. That is the feeling that the song conveys. I think that's why it resonates with so many people. And really, it's his delivery. It's you said the personal nature of his delivery. It's just the solo vocals. There's no harmonies that honestly, as a melody guy, it wouldn't really even matter what the exact story is to me. Yes, the butter on a summer day when she's around, that's such a great lyric that you can really grab onto. But the specifics of what the song is about didn't matter to me. It was just how it made me feel.
Yeah, and I can't recall a time on the show where someone's been like, well, yeah, I don't really know what this part means. It could mean this, but it could mean this, but it could mean this. And my head was about to explode at one moment going, wow, this is such a different take on where this emotion, where this inspiration came for a lyric. It was very different.
So much from that movie. I've never seen that movie. Have you seen that movie?
No, I have not. No.
I want to see it now.
Yeah.
And what else I think is really interesting and makes me like this song is that I have no sense when this song ends that the narrator, that being Josh in this song, the person in the first person perspective, and Megan, the muse of the song, got together. And I think that'd be way less interesting if the end of this song was, oh, and then we got together and I love you happily ever after. I think it's way more interesting that either A, he's waiting for her and she never shows up. That's so relatable and it hits you so hard. That's where that lump in the throat might come, thinking about how sad that is, or that's just left to the imagination. Maybe she does, maybe she doesn't. I think that's the way more artistic and beautiful way to end this song. I love it. And it makes me think, man, it makes me think of another band and another lyric. When you're talking about that final lyric of the song, it makes me think of, I don't know if you're as big of a fan as I am, Chris. I've tried to get them on the podcast, but They Might Be Giants, in what's probably their biggest song, Don't Let's Start. They have this lyric, and I watched a documentary about them where it was just a bunch of different people. Two people I remember talking about this lyric were Mark Hoppus was in it talking about it, and Sarah Silverman was talking about it. This one lyric, which is, no one in the world ever gets what they want, and that is beautiful. Everybody dies frustrated and sad, and that is beautiful. I think that's one of the most amazing lyrics ever. It's way less interesting to me that something would be so happy and everybody gets what they want. That's not real life.
Yeah, no, and there's a lot of ambiguity with this song, but at the end, I called it a coda here, this little outro. It makes you feel like it's a cliffhanger. Like my emotions with this song, they're not resolved. It's kind of morose. It's kind of, you use the word a yearning. It's sad. It's all these emotions rolled into one. But then there's like a glimmer of hope at the end of this, almost like there's a part two to the song that it isn't there. It's, I don't know, a lot of emotions with this one. And I recall hearing this, as I said, a ton back on the tour bus in the late 90s. This was like a record that we listened to for like a year straight. Our old trombone player Pete would always play it. And to go back to this, and I had mentioned to Josh that I love this so much, this show, and I've talked about it, where I feel like I'm listening to these songs for the first time, and this song was just so many things jumped out at me. He used the word, I think this is the word I was looking for. I kept saying the song's simple. He used the word sparse, and that I'm going to remember that word. That's a great word to describe a song like this. It's not overblown. It doesn't need to be. And man, I've heard him play this song acoustically, and it's just as spine tingling as this.
Well, one thing that you didn't bring up to him that I thought you were going to talk about for sure, and we have to talk about here in the wrap, is his voice. He has one of those voices that he could sing one word and you're like, oh, that's Smoking Popes. It is so recognizable. And that just helps with that. Yeah, the music in this song is sparse. Yeah, that's a great descriptive word of what this song is, but his voice, it's so powerful and it's so unique. You don't need much to the music just serves to enhance his voice and his delivery, man. It's so good.
Yeah, I was really, really glad that he came on. It was only a couple of weeks ago that I just, cold hit him up on Instagram, and next thing you know, he hit me back, said he'd love to be on, and also found out he's a fan of the show. He's listened to a couple episodes, which is absolutely great. And speaking of fans of the episodes, that's you guys out there listening. We appreciate each and every one of you. If you haven't already, head over to ChrisDeMakes.com and sign up for our supporting cast, where you get bonus episodes each week. Chris and I talk about a myriad of subjects, and we talk about them well. I think we talk about them well, Chris.
It's a great podcast. The After Party, I'm kind of sad that it's only to members of the supporting cast, because we put so much love into it, and it's so fun and good that, we really appreciate everyone who joins the supporting cast at ChrisDeMakes.com. And I think that anyone who's a member could attest to the fact that the After Party is its own thing that's different than this podcast, but just as fun.
Absolutely. And hey, I'm still writing those custom songs. If you'd like a custom song for you or that special someone, or a jingle for your business, hit me up at ChrisDeMakes@gmail.com. I'd love to write you a song. And give me a follow on Instagram at LessThanChrisD. Want to thank this week's guest, Josh Caterer, for sitting with us, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, Chris DeMakes a podcast producer, Chris Fafalius here. You may have heard me talk about my band Punchline before. Maybe you already know us, or maybe you're hearing about us for the first time right now. It doesn't matter. No matter what your relationship with Punchline is, I will absolutely guarantee that you'll love our new podcast, A Band Called Punchline. Starting with our humble beginnings in a small town in southwestern Pennsylvania in 1997, we're telling the hilarious, strange, and hopefully inspiring story of the 25 plus years of our band in the most honest way possible, podcast style. A Band Called Punchline is an audio documentary available now wherever you get your pods. So subscribe and let me and my friends share a wild, entertaining, unique, and wonderful tale of music and perseverance unlike any other that's still being written today.
Mamá, papá, mi cuerpo crece a un ritmo alarmante y la ropa que me compren ahora me quedará muy pequeña muy pronto. Pero su billetera no tiene que sufrir por la moda con los precios bajos de la vuelta a clases de Amazon. Amazon, gasta menos, sonríe más.